good.
All good? All right. Coach, opening thoughts, wrap up the Cyclone Invitational, and then looking ahead to Nebraska-Kearney.
Yes, the Cyclone Open was kind of what we needed. We needed to get some matches in, and to be able to get 2 guys per weight was really nice. Kind of gives us a little bit of clarity on how to go forward. But this weekend's exciting. You know, you get to start over each weekend, and obviously we got to figure out 10 guys to wrestle Friday night, and then we're going to take the rest of the guys to Grandview. Maybe even a couple might double up on Saturday, and that'll be a long day. Always a big tournament, 600-700 people, athletes at that. So yeah, it was a good. You know, I'll let you guys ask questions about individuals, but you know, we get a big weekend here, then we get a weekend off, and then we get to go again. So.
What were your biggest takeaways from the Cyclone Invitational?
You know, I thought some guys had some really good weekends. I thought Connor Uten had a great weekend. I thought Rocky Elam, for being off the mat as long as he had a great weekend, a real dominating weekend. Panero Johnson, I thought, had a really dominating weekend. Anthony Chimendia, I think, had a really dominating weekend. MJ as well. You know, and Vinny and Isaac, they had to scrap it out a little bit, but those guys are really good competitors. I think their shape helped them win those matches. So, you know, overall, like I said, it was a good start.
How excited were you to see Younger back out there wrestling after everything we went through last season?
Yeah, I forgot about Younger. It's been a while. You know, he's had 2 matches in basically a year. You know, he had the match at the All-Star meet, and then he had the match. You know, and the Wisconsin kid's a tough kid. You watch that kid throughout the year. Amos has been around a long time. He's a big body. He outweighed us by probably 30 pounds, and so we made some technical mistakes. But Younger's toughness and his heart and his shape is what won that match, and I think that's exciting for us to know that he's winning matches with shape right now this early in the season. So it was good to see him back out there.
What are some technical adjustments that Younger needs to make when he's wrestling a bigger heavyweight like that?
Yeah, you just don't want to get caught under that weight. I mean, obviously, position's important in all weight classes, but it's especially important at heavyweight because, you know, 265 versus 235, something gives, and he found out, probably took a bad shot, and defensively, Amos was really tough there and scored on him, so he doesn't get taken down much, so he's got to figure that out.
You talked about MJ post Cyclone invite. You said you talked Monday about his elbow status. What is the status?
Good. You know, we came back Monday and everything was good. I think it must just have been like a thing that scared him more than anything, but structurally, and you know, he worked out Monday, he'll work out today, and so we're strong there.
Coach, I see from the projected lineup that Steve-O's going to be back. How's he factor in on Friday?
Yeah, we'll scrap today, Tuesday, and assuming that everything goes well, he's ready to go. You know, he got released. We probably could have wrestled him last weekend, but being early in the year and he's a little bit older, we're trying to be as smart as we can with their bodies, and so a big good chance to see him get out there. I know he's excited to get to Hilton.
What? Go ahead.
Do you kind of feel the same at the start of this year as you did last year?
Well, we were optimistic last year. I can't remember because it kind of the year kind of just unraveled and was sort of a disaster as we got into the end of the year and postseason. But yeah, you mean you're excited, and I always tell them all the time. I said the biggest match of the year is Friday night against UNK. That's the biggest match of the year, and then when we get done with that, then we'll worry about the next one. That's the biggest match of the year. So it is the biggest match of the year for us. So these guys are excited, and we got to be ready for them.
Do you think you're approaching this season's, like your process to figure out who the starters are officially going to be, especially in those like middle lower weights? Are you looking at this one differently than the way you did last year?
Our process is a little different because we had a wrestle off head to head against each other, and then obviously this weekend we threw them more of in a tournament situation. So we probably have a few to figure out. Obviously, 49, Panero's kind of in the lead there right now. Uten's kind of in the lead at 65, but we've got some good quality guys there too that might factor back in. But it's a little different process, and you try to give everybody, I guess, the fairest shake you can, and I think we've done that.
How have you seen Evan progressing, and how's his weight going, and what have you really seen out of him going into the season?
Evan's had a great 2 weeks, just in terms of being on board, the discipline. He always works hard, but he also works hard at the dining room too, and so he's not working as hard over there. So we're excited that he's progressing down, and he's I think he weighed 38 on Saturday. It felt great. So, we're still progressing our way down there.
What was Evan's reaction to the coaching decision to not let him wrestle Etchemandia in the championship?
Oh, he got it. He's probably wrestled Etchemandia a few times in a room, and that's not a fun deal because he likes to pick guys up and throw them down all the time. So, you got to protect your body, and I say that kiddingly, but I don't. But I'm being serious. Is Anthony's a very physical wrestler, so the last thing we need to do is throw two guys out there that weren't even going to be at the same weight and risk any injury. So that's why we did that. It wasn't that one guy didn't want to go versus the other guy. It was just a 100% coaching decision that this is not a smart thing to throw those two guys out there right now.
And with Jacob, I mean, he has an All-American finish. Now he's really got a battle to try and get in that starting lineup. How have you seen him kind of navigating that?
Well, he was a little banged up, but he's ready to go. We're going to weigh in a couple guys at 57. He's 49's easy for him, but we got to make sure Vinny's ready to go. He's burst is a little swollen, so we don't know exactly what we're going to do at 57. I think they're both going to get on the mat today, and we'll see how they feel. But we got two good options there. But yeah, we got to figure out a few things right now. I think Pinero's a little bit in the driver's seat right now, but there's still a lot to figure out there.
When it comes to those new guys, how have you seen them make an impact? Like Steve O'Pullen and Vinny Zerbin, and I mean Isaac Dean, they're a little more quieter than maybe Rocky.
I think, this is all new, and everything's new at Iowa State. The dining facility is, and the perks that these guys experience, probably kind of coming from maybe a mid-major, has probably been fun for them. But now it's wrestling, and the other part of it, on the other side of it, it says, when you put that singlet on, it's different than putting on your old singlet because people are going to take your head off. They're going to try to take your head off, and so there's a little extra pressure putting that singlet on, and you got to handle that the right way.
What is the scheduling decision to bring in a Division II school like Nebraska-Kearney?
Well, number one, UNK is really good. Like they won Division II nationals, and then they brought in some guys. They got a lot of guys in their lineup that were pretty successful in Division I. That somehow or another they got to so good for them. They did a tremendous job in the off season recruiting. These guys are not going to be an easy out, I can tell you. They will blow through Division II this year, and like I said, they've got a lot of Division I guys in their lineup. And when you go out there and you got nothing to lose, they're coming here. This is their Super Bowl, and so we have to understand that. We have to be ready for that.
With their big heavyweights, they rank near the top, just like your heavyweights at the Division I level. Talk about that matchup and how important it could be, because it could really set off a season if one of your top two guys can't get the win.
Yeah, we got to be ready to go. We've seen those kids before. Howard's, we've trained the UNK coaches, Coach Jensen and Coach Sorensen, are former Iowa State wrestlers. So that's where that kind of connection goes to. So they reached out to me and wanted to come to Ames. So when they do that, they're not coming here to bring a B team. They're coming here to bring a really good team. And so we've been able to train with them a little bit in the off season. They've come to Ames to train. So we're familiar with UNK and some of their guys, and their 97 and their heavyweight are good, both really good.
What are the biggest things you're looking for from your team? What's your challenge to them outside of course, getting the win?
Well, we tell them all the time, you guys are entertainers. It's time to go entertain. Let's get some more matches under our belt. I like the way, like I said at the very beginning, I like the way we dominated and separated ourselves in a lot of those weight classes this past weekend, and we need to do that. We need to go out and be greedy and see how much we can win by, and win first, and see how much we can win by second.
Connor Hooten dominated top 20 opponent from Wisconsin in the finals, Tech Fall in the second period. What have you kind of seen from him, in his recovery from his injury last year and leading into this season that he's able to just hit the ground running?
Well, Connor's an all-star in the training room. Unfortunately, he's been in there too much, so we got to stay out of the training room. But his rehab, according to our trainer, Tim Wiesner's just been, if you know Connor at all, he's the most blue-collar kid we got on our team. It might be, you always try to label which guy's your hardest working guy. He might be one of the hardest working guys we've got in the program right now. And he did not come from a background out of high school that he was he wasn't a Rocky Elam out of high school. He wasn't a David Carr out of high school. He's really worked hard, and it's important to him, and he's a smart guy. And so I'm excited to see him have that weekend he did.
At Media Day, all of your guys that I spoke with consistently brought up culture. Culture is the biggest thing that stood out to them over the summer in their trainings. How has this team changed? What have you seen from them, and how, in your words, how has it changed?
I think culture is a lot about just getting along. I think, there's teams, I've been doing this a while, obviously. There's teams out there that I've had before that were pretty good that just didn't get along because they might have been too competitive at some weights, and there might have been some ornery guys. This team just really gets along, so if that translates into a good culture, then so be it. But these guys do really get along really well, and there's not a lot of, sometimes when you get really, really elite athletes, that alpha male thing's real, and especially in an individual sport like wrestling. You get way too many. If you get too many alpha males in the room, sometimes it can be a disaster. So I hope we've got alpha males, but it appears right now that they all seem to get along, and that's where you get culture.
Can you talk about your relationship with Coach Fernando?
Coach Fernando, he's awesome. He's the most positive guy in the world. We can have the worst practice in the world, and Coach Fernando will come in the locker room and tell me, "Man, was that a great practice." And he knows that I'm probably not happy, and he just says that to keep me light. So he's been a great addition to our program. His positivity and his energy, and obviously he's had a great impact on us attracting the Cuban athletes, the Arizona athletes, because that's where he's from. So his niche has really been carved at Iowa State.
What's his biggest impact on the team? How do you see the guys really respond to him?
I think his biggest impact is, sometimes you have to have bad cop, good cop, and he's definitely a good cop, and I'm probably more the bad cop, but so they'd like to see him more than they like to see me sometimes, most of the time.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Coach.
There he is, Connor Hooten, speaking of the devil.